Hi and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be talking about merging. We're going to be doing two problems. The first one is going to be merging arrays, and then once we learned how we can merge arrays, then we're going to move on to merging linked lists. If you don't know what a linked list is, don't forget to check out my previous video so that you can learn all about linked lists before we get started. Also, don't forget that you have the linked list node class, which is like this list node class I have on the screen, if you want to test your code for the linked list question. Now let's get started. First, we're going to go with the arrays problem first. Given two sorted integer arrays, nums1 and nums2, we need to merge them into one sorted array. We're going to have nums1 have extra spots so that all you have to do is put nums2 in nums1, which makes it a little bit more easier than we would have done in problem 2. So let's get started. I first have set up this method, and in this method we're going to first iterate through nums2 and put it into nums1, because then all we have to do is sort nums1 after that. So I'm going to declare a variable into pos, and this pos stands for position. It's going to iterate through nums2. And then we're going to be using a for loop to actually iterate through nums1. I is first going to be equal to m. This is because we want to put nums2 in these 0 spots. So by putting I and m, we get to the first 0 spot, and we want to continue going into nums1.length, and then we're going to do I++. In this for loop, we need to do two things. We first need to make nums1 of I equal to nums2 of position. But then if we do this, it's going to keep making nums1 equal to the same nums2 position. So we need to increase that pos that we have. After this, we're going to have nums1 have all of the values. Next, all we have to do is sort nums1. Now we could just iterate through and do some sort of insertion sort, selection sort, but Java's really helpful because it already has this method built in for us for sorting called arrays.sort, and we pass in our array. So this will automatically sort nums1 for us. And if I run this, you'll kind of see how nums1 is now printed out. So you'll notice that this is my testing code, and it worked out just as we expected our code to run. The next thing that we're going to do is jump over to problem 2, where we're going to be sorting two linked lists, or we're going to be merging them into a sorted linked list. This is super similar to the previous problem where we have two sorted linked lists and all we have to do is combine them. So you kind of see here, we have this one, we had this one, and we combined it here. I also wrote the testing code if you want to test this program yourself. Now, let's get started. In this method, what we're going to do first is we're going to create a new list node, and this new list node is going to be where we're going to be combining it. And then I'm just going to create a duplicate, because when we have a linked list, we have the first node, the second node, the third node. But if I take the first node and I go to the next node, how can I go back to the previous node? I can't. So that's why we're going to create a duplicate. This duplicate will allow us to iterate, but we'll still keep that first value. So combined is what we're going to be returning, but temp is how we're going to be iterating. The next thing we need to do is try to get as much of a combined completed. And what that means is we're going to do while n1 is not equal to null and L2 is not equal to null, then we're going to say if L1.val is less than equal to L2.val, then we're going to be adding that to combined. Else we're going to be adding L2 to combined, right? So this will just put the lower value in combined first. So what we're going to do is that we're going to have temp.next, or you can also have temp, I just prefer temp.next. Remember temp's that the iterator for us, and we're going to have that equal to L1. And then we're just going to make L1 is equal to L1.next. And then here is the same thing, except for we want it to do with L2. So L2 is equal to L2.next. And what this would do is say if L1 is smaller, then the next node in temp is going to be equal to L1. If L2 is smaller, then it's going to be equal to L2. And then all we want is temp is equal to temp.next. Now, there's a possibility that after this, one of them is null, but the other isn't. So if that's true, all we have to do is copy the entire rest of the linked list into temp. And that will allow us to just copy the whole thing up. So if L1 is equal to null, that means L2 is not, because here one of them has to be null and the other doesn't, right? That means temp.next is equal to L2. And then if L2 is null, then temp.next is equal to L1. And this will just copy over the rest of the values. Now all you have to do is return combined, right? No. Remember, we're assigning temp to temp.next, so we have to just do combined.next to get that proper value. So now, using this, we're able to return that first node in our combined linked list, but we were still able to iterate through with temp. So let's save our program and let's run it. Whoops. What I'm going to do quickly is I'm just going to print .val, and now we see that the first one's 1. Now we could just, if you wanted to see whether the whole thing worked, then you can use the iterator and just iterate through the returned value in order to see the entire one. So that's it. I hope that you learned about merging with arrays and array lists and linked lists, so I hope to see you next time.